You just go for any colour you like. I think it's you're really passionate about the product, but you don't want to do it as you're passionate. Okay,
yeah. I did have 10 minutes on it, but then it was only 8.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Just about to go for it. Okay, so this is Craig Austin, and I'm not sure if he's actually an actual human being or he's just a supplier, but I think you're the top of the business. And he's based out in Australia, and we take Australian pink lady apples for 6 weeks of the year over to the UK, only into the UK market. Now, the UK market requirements for basic due diligence, especially on a kind of spot buy like this, and especially in light of knowing, trusting, and all the stuff that's come out since obviously this year, is only tightening up. And that basic due diligence involves basically just taking paperwork. And so I need them, and this isn't just this is actually representative of almost every category that I'll be dealing with in Australia and New Zealand on both produce and meat. Is that we're small fry, they could easily supply to Asia, and that's it. So it's quite a tough one, because all my usual selling points that I'm used to doing quite comfortably about Tesco, growing together, all that kind of stuff, is just kind of out the window. So I'd like to try and remember to bring in vision, vision, expertise, reciprocity, if I can. I find that always really hard to remember what that really means. Rapport, of course, and possibly, if I need to, social proof and scarcity, and we'll see. And it is quite a. It's particularly, I suppose. Oh, sorry. The main thing I need is commitment, but I need them to get why. So that's when vision and commitment are the two biggest things. And time is ticking because you're already packing apples for us. Get on with it. Okay. Great. Craig, hi. Great to see you again.
Harriet, hi. How are things?
Very well, thanks. I'm really looking forward to joining you in Australia in a couple of months, as soon as my visa comes through. So.
Yeah, have a look at those weather reports in the UK.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, at least you've got, even your winters are better than our summers, so first flight out there. But how's things? How's business?
Yeah, well, we're really busy obviously at this time of year, so it's all happening here.
Go. Yeah, well, I'm really delighted. Obviously, you know Stephen very well, and that he's agreed again that we're going to do another 6 weeks of Pink Lady. I'm really delighted that we've got that opportunity to get that fantastic brand back on the shelf, and it's your country that developed it, so we want it. So it's great to have. And obviously, as you know, every year it flies off the shelf all over the world, particularly in the UK. And our customers love it. But as you know, obviously our customers also expect that, quite rightly, that we maintain your brand, the Pink Lady brand, of course Craig Mostyn's brand, and of course Tesco's as well. And we need to make sure that that brand is maintained by putting a bit of kind of basic standards in place. So appreciate, obviously, you've already got those standards, but I just wanted to understand today how we can go about ensuring that we've got that bit of paperwork from you guys, just so we can make sure we can put those products on the shelf.
Well, I mean, listen here, Harriet, we're happy, we're more than happy to supply to you guys, but I have to say, all this documentation that you're after, all this paperwork, I mean, look at our reputation internationally. Mm-hmm. We're not asked this from anyone else, and we supply you for 6 weeks a year. I mean, you can understand, we're not really about to rush around and send all this documentation off to you for something that really isn't of any benefit to us.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I feel that from our point of view, the reason why it's absolutely critical, and it's the whole world over, whether we're dealing with an Argentinian grape grower for 1 week a year or a meat buyer from Central Europe for the entire year, our standards don't change. And it's a bit like the Pink Lady standards, your quality, that consistency of product, that never changes. So it's really making sure that we can protect, really that brand, and make sure in the UK that we can actually keep doing it.
I appreciate appreciate that. I understand that that's the way you guys work, but you've got to understand that that's an awful lot of
Yeah.
work for us to commit to when it's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We can supply so much more cheaply to Asia. It just seems that you're asking us to do something that isn't really worth our while.
Yeah. It's
And as much as we want to supply you, we just find it strange that you're asking for all this. I mean,
you don't get the same kind of paperwork from other customers, or
no, I mean, we have the best standards in the world, and you're kind of asking us to do something that's a bit of a big ask for the 6 weeks.
I do appreciate that. I used to do the paperwork for when I used to be a supplier supplying Tesco, and it is a bit of a slog, I'll be honest. But where I think we can hopefully add value is that, talking about Asia, we've got businesses in Asia. We've got Malaysia, we've got Singapore, we've got businesses all over China, and actually, of course, fantastically, the businesses in the UK have a higher standard, because that's what the British customer now, for better or worse, but we think for better, demands. Out in Asia, the standards are slightly lower. So we think that if you can get those 6 weeks and you can do all that paperwork, you then get access to the whole of the rest of that market in Asia. And now, because I'm going to be based out in Australia working with you on a much day-to-day basis, I can help open up that market for you.
But does that mean anything in Asia to them? Does that mean anything to them?
The standards, it's not the same standards, they are not the same standards that we need in Asia. So actually all we need is that paperwork to be in place into the UK.
So really, all it's going to do is re-emphasise our success in the UK. What's the actual benefit?
Well, I suppose if you see it as a bit of a key, a few hours of, I'd obviously have to work out who that person might, of course it wouldn't be yourself, but perhaps someone from your technical team, who that person would be, explain what those requirements were around pesticides and actually, allowing that product to get into the European Union, because otherwise, they have to accept all products. But it's effectively, that's a key. Once you've unlocked that bit of paperwork, probably it will take you admittedly about a day and a half to do all of that paperwork. I will accept that. It's quite a bit of your time. You're packing, you're in the middle of work, and you just want to get on with it. But once that's done, we want to leave you guys to get on with the area where you're fantastic. Unlock that key to the UK, and you've got Asia, without any of that paperwork requirements. But without the UK, I can't tap into Asia for you.
Well, it does make sense, but it's not something we do for anyone else. Do you understand our point of view?
Yeah. So no other, from your customers in Australia, they don't have the same kind of paperwork requirements?
It's similar, but it's not to this detail and not sort of for this small amount of supply.
Yeah.
Just.
I think it's also probably because Tesco, we're the third largest retailer in the world, and we do have these high standards, and particularly around this horse meat scandal, which I'm not even allowed to call it horse meat gate anymore, I have to call it beef burger gate, that we have been, we've been badly burnt, and we are the third largest retailer in the world. We want to become the second. Carrefour and us are sort of tipping up. So hopefully we'll be opening up more markets in the future. Particularly we're retracting at the moment, but the idea is that we want to maintain those standards. To do that, unfortunately, we have to kind of keep those documentations in place.
No, I get this, but what is it exactly you need from us? How much commitment, how much work, how much time is this going to take?
Fantastic. Sorry, my apologies. I should have said that before. We're looking for three things. One is we need paperwork on the audits that are actually done at each of your grower sites. So each of the farms that you have that supply into each pack house, we need evidence that they've got great systems in place. I know they do have great systems in place, but we need to sort of prove that on paperwork. That's partly just a bureaucratic way to get the apples into the UK.
And is that just Tesco that asks for these things,
Well,
or is it all the retail guys in Europe?
Well, that's actually a really good point. Tesco has the highest standards, and you can ask the British public. We regularly come out on top in terms of perception, in terms of polls for Tesco's standards in the farms and the fields.
But sir, sorry to interrupt, but if we went to another retailer for our 6 weeks a year, they wouldn't necessarily ask us for all of this, would they?
But if you said you had the Tesco audits in place, and they were M&S, they were Sainsbury's, they were any of the big European retailers, hands down they take it. I've experienced with the same in Argentina. So they didn't want to do it, but they did the Tesco audit, and then when M&S came into supply, I shouldn't be saying this, of course, I'll get in trouble, but when M&S came into supply, they said, okay, fine, you've got the Tesco's audit, that's fine, we'll supply.
Okay, so we could essentially open this up to other retailers.
Off the record, yes. But so to your point, those three areas, so one is audits on the farms, The second area is pesticides, and that's actually an EU requirement. It's just to make sure that the chemical residue on your apples isn't exceeding the allowance. And the third area, and this is going to be a sticking point, and I'm happy to explain why, is ethical. And it's just to, globally, we have those requirements. And again, it's just a tick box exercise from an ethical point of view. There's no doubt in my mind that your standards are fantastic.
But does it entail an inspection or?
The ethical audit only entails an inspection if your operations are deemed as high risk. But it's in all likelihood, given from what you said, they'll come out at low risk.
Okay.
But
so how long do you think this is all going to take?
I'd say about a day and a half to do all the paperwork. I would need someone more senior than just a technical assistant. I'd need one of your senior technical directors to actually do this. And there will be a cost involved as well. A small cost, but a cost.
How much are we talking about?
We're talking £40 for, so that's about 65 Aussie dollars to sign up to each of the 3 databases we need. So actually, it's about 130 Aussie dollars to actually sign up onto onto this website.
And that's it. Once that's been paid, is there any more? Or?
Assuming there are no issues. So if there's a chemical residue issue or something like that.
And if there's an issue, my fear is that going to affect us legally?
But I would say, given the reputation of the Pink Lady brand, that's not likely. You know, you've, as you said before, you know, the reputation is fantastic. It's just to make sure that it's from the chemical residue point of view, it's a tick box to make sure it gets into the EU.
Would you guys be happy to speak to our legal team first before I...
I'd be delighted to speak to your legal team, certainly. I can put one of my team in touch with one of your team.
I just think, you know, we need to clear it past, you know, our legal team before we go any further with that.
Certainly. From our point of view, it's a basic condition of supply, so really, unless these basic standards are in place, we can't give you that key to the 6 weeks in the UK. We'd let down our customers. And this
How come last year
we were
able to?
Oh, yeah, last year. Well, I think, let me be plain with you, that was probably a mistake. The person involved probably shouldn't have said that it was okay to do it. However, because it was just for a 6-week period, since Horsegates happened, we really are cracking down, because the risk could be anywhere, and we need to sort of prove on paper that all of the due diligence is in place. But what we don't want to do is, if we don't supply your Pink Lady for those 6 weeks, we've got, you know, we just lose that one window. We disappoint a customer, and mum comes in week after week after week for just 6 weeks, and that's enough to kill that. She won't. She'll go to Braeburn. She'll go to Chile and Braeburn.
And do we have to do this annually, or?
So that's a great question. And what I can do is, obviously, after this, I'll follow up with absolute detail with your technical director.
Because annually, this may be a problem. If it's a one-off, fine. But I do think we need to check out exactly what we're looking at here. So my legal team will run it past you.
Fantastic.
And then maybe we can talk again very soon.
Fantastic. And as I say, I'm going to be based on the ground. That's the whole point of this supplier partnership now, is to make sure that we are working together, not in the traditional way that Tesco used to work, which is a bit bullying tactics, and we need this information and do it over an email. And I know...
Because we just go, you know, we've got a big enough market to supply to, we just walk.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But where I think I can help is giving you opportunity to a number of other markets other than just the UK. As I said, a bit like a bit of a key. And if we can get the Pink Lady on the shelves for those 6 weeks, we've got a year-round supply. But if we can't give them that 6 weeks, it damages the whole brand for us, and I imagine for the Pink Lady as well. So are you happy then for me to get in touch firstly with your legal team just to explain all our requirements, and secondly with your technical director to make sure that they're absolutely crystal clear on what our minimum standards are?
Yeah, legal team first, run it through. I do want an answer about whether this is going to be an annual cost to us, an annual sort of hassle to us, because I don't really think we're going to be able to agree on that.
But let me just take a couple of moments just to explain that. Annually, you've got an opportunity to, with me being there, I can go back every year and say we have a fantastic relationship and we keep growing that. And the more that we have a transparent relationship, the more business will come our way. In theory, of course, I'm not commercial, I can't guarantee that, but we have to have those standards in place. It depends on the risk. In terms of signing up for a website, you only need to do that once. In terms of sending us the documentation, you need to do that once. However, if there are issues, that's where costs start to incur. So, for instance, you will start to need to have an annual audit at the factory. You'll definitely, though, have to say every year we'll need an annual audit at the grower site.
Yeah, I mean, I do have concerns for the growers.
Yeah.
Not that we have there's anything ethically to worry about, but it's something we need to discuss with them, I think, as well.
No, I'd be delighted to, and again, the whole point of this partnership, and it's not just a one-way relationship. We're going on the ground now so that we can actually engage directly with the growers. I can explain the benefits to them. Effectively, it's another stamp. It's the Tesco brand, the largest retailer in the world, universally recognised standard. This is something we call nurture. It's basically grower standards that in the UK our customers love. And who's to say that other customers won't love that as well? And if they don't love it, well, we've just got a great audit that's in place as well to help those growers raise the standards. So are you happy then for me to get in touch with legal first?
Let's go legal first, and then I'll speak to my tech director and we'll take it from there.
Fantastic. Has he got my email address, or can I share that with you?
I've got it. I'll pass your details on to him.
Fantastic, great. Okay, we, due to the, obviously, Angus has said we've already started packing. If we don't have a commitment or some movement on this in the next, I think by Friday next week, we're going to be in a sticking position because we won't be able to ship and get the product on the shelves in time. So really by Friday next week, I'll need to have both spoken to the legal team and actually got the documentation in place.
Obviously, if this is something we're not going ahead with, we also need to have some commitment from you that we're not going to lose out on that.
Or lose out on stuff that we're sending you.
No,
yeah, except I'm afraid to say that if we don't, this is a real, effectively, this 1.5 days of paperwork is a bit of a deal breaker. We cannot accept stock into the UK and indeed into Europe. It's a European, it's a government requirement. It's a European Union requirement into the EU and into the UK if we don't have this bit of paperwork in place around pesticides, ethics, and grower audits.
Okay, well let's run it past legal first and see what they say.
Fantastic, great. Well, Craig, thanks very much for your time. Great to see you. And let you know when I'm out in Australia.
Fabulous.
Thanks.
Oh, tenacity. I've never seen anything like it, Harriet.
So good to do, otherwise you just don't think of all the things you'd say back if you don't do it. So
go on, how did it feel?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. You have to think. I can't practice something by writing it down. I can only do it by literally reliving it, so which is problematic sometimes. So that was just really helpful, even though I stumbled and I should have been a bit bolder in places, but that was really good. Tough cookie. I think that was it from the supplier side. I think those guys that were knowing, but it was quite true to how a supplier probably would have been as well. I think,
Well, you guys, what did you see?
So I wouldn't say you stumbled at all really
No, I
throughout.
don't mind.
I thought it was a really good opening. You flattered quite a lot
I like that.
throughout, so it was really good. The other thing for me was I think you had been convinced sooner than you thought you did.
right.
I think you could have gone to a deal agreement that she agreed to, or he agreed to,
Yeah.
probably about 2 or 3, 4 minutes before
Oh,
you
really?
actually got it.
Well, not buyer. Yeah.
And it's exactly the same point. Close and shut up.
Yeah.
You had
Talk
a way
yeah,
earlier.
Okay. Alright.
But that was it for me. Apart from that, really clear on site. And you're quite honest as well, so you didn't lie. You could quite easily have lied on 1 or 2 occasions just to get past the sticking point that would have been a problem for someone else or in the future
Yeah.
and got you past now, but you're quite open and honest, I think, which was good.
Okay. I mean, I have to be because the stuff's being packed and it's because someone lied before. So that's why we're in the position we are, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you admitted, you were quite honest because you admitted the mistake. Because the question was, well, what did you do? Did we not do it last year? You're like, yeah. And so it wasn't like you were hiding behind it. You were quite open and honest. And I think that, I felt like the response you got from that was actually quite a positive one as a result.
I think again you adapted the situation really well. I think that you absorbed quite a lot and you sort of controlled your reactions, which I thought was pretty impressive. I think you also again thought a little bit, to use a coined phrase, thought outside the box from the supplier's point of view and trying to open up commercial opportunities in Asia as a major benefit. Setting the standards higher to allow access. I thought was a interesting approach and probably one I would guess that they would respond to pretty proactively. And I thought you kind of controlled your body language and you seemed quite relaxed in the situation, so I thought it was pretty positive.
I had a little bit. Oh, sorry. I really liked your spin in the beginning of, just like the Pink Lady brand. It was really nice. I know we have these high standards, but so do you. That's okay.
But and it's tricky because that's why it's a sticking point. They're like, but we don't need to do it because we've got it. So that's why it's sort of this loggerheads, I suppose.
But it's good to use that because you know it's there and you know it's in their head, so if you used it really well. I don't think you stumble anywhere near as much as you think you do. You don't at all. And it's quite natural. It's not.
I think it's because you think, I think, you know how sometimes you go kind of blank, so you're talking and I'm like, I can't even, I had a point, it's gone, I can't remember what I was going to say, so just say something else, and I have a real problem with that, so.
When you watch the video back, then you'll see, and I'd encourage you to do that, just have a look.
Okay.
We did well to introduce the word in partnership as well quite a lot. So it felt more, no, you've just got to do it. Whilst you made your point, it wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
I think I saw lots of people like me, social proof in there. So you talked about doing the paperwork. I know it's a pain. You know, very empathetic from that point of view.
Although I have to be careful with that because I think I need to be more. I try to sort of claw it back, which is that you know this isn't a box ticking exercise. This is a really great thing to do to raise our standards. But I just sort of it doesn't sell. People are just like so it's a really difficult one.
And you've got to be honest about it. You know, it's doing paperwork. However, you were great at kind of selling the benefits, and I think as the others have said, there was all sorts of. Also, at one point you said, I shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah.
I think that was probably around a mistake there. And so for me, that was kind of a bit of reciprocation. I'm doing you a favour because I'm sharing a bit more than I probably should.
Yeah.
But this is just a little something extra for you, which is really, comes very naturally from you.
I genuinely would get in trouble for that though.
Yeah, you
But I
yeah.
probably would say it.
You know your limitations, your boundaries.
You can say that in a different way, they can't you?
Yeah.
That it's a leading standard, and actually it opens you up to every market.
Yeah, it's, leading standard.
And I'm pretty confident it would open you up to other leading UK retailers.
Yeah.
Can't speak on their behalf, obviously.
Did a good job of talking about customer, I felt as well. Actually, that was one. You did find some good common goals in there. Between actually, it's both we both want to sell apples. Ultimately, and you did talk about customers. So there's quite a lot of commonality within the conversation.
Both want to sell apples. That's a really good.
Recognise where you've got the answer without the story sometimes. So she asked you at one point, she wasn't quite clear on the benefit. And you knew the benefit was the gateway to Asia, basically. You told the story before you got to the answer, but you had the answer. I almost was expecting you to not have the answer because you came with the story. And actually you just needed to say, yes, we can help you unlock those.
And then maybe tell the story or not.
Or not, yeah, you can choose.
That's a good point.
Especially when you got the answer. Use the
I know, I do that all the time. It's a good one.
The way that I think in this specific example, being careful about saying rising or raising standards because you're saying you're already good enough. I mean, you use the word raise, you eyebrows up a couple of times because I think it's almost just the paperwork to show your standards are correct. But when you use the word raise, I think that implies that there's going to be more required than simply filling in the paperwork.
Yeah, and if you said that to a bunch of farmers, they'd like flip. So
Yeah,
you're right.
you
Yeah.
think the one not doing is work.
Yeah.
It's just it's only one word, but
Yeah, no, it's exactly.
potentially might have some motive behind it on the other side, and that's specific.
You used expertise and power quite nicely. Third largest retailer, highest standards. So again, it didn't come across in I'm flogging this because actually I also recognise that you have the expertise here and the brand, etc. So that came across well.
I think potentially you could have potentially used the horse gate thing to a little bit more effect.
Oh, yeah, did I even mention that?
You did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the reason for that is that you could have suggested that it was a pretty involving, publicly involving scenario in the UK specifically, which has made us check all of our standards across all of our suppliers, and this isn't something that's just in the apple and produce category. It's being rolled up first initially in MFP and then beyond, and so this is kind of an ongoing iterative process. I think that potentially could have anchored the reason you were coming to the conversation, the reason you needed this extra level of detail a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
Rather
think
than being so specific about one supplier sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything we could have done? Is there anything you could have offered back to help? So it's a day and a half's paperwork, which actually to probably a farming community is quite a laborious task, whereas for those of us who sit in offices, it's actually a pain.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. Yeah.
Is there anything we could have offered to aid?
I
I
mean,
don't know whether there is a dinner process.
I think the problem. Yeah, I tried to be like, I'm here. That's the solution. But you're right. I think this is tricky.
But at the
Well,
same time,
actually,
you don't want to take on the work yourself. To be fair, it's like
yeah.
you've done the right checks in the right way.
But last night I found out that I could consolidate that price with all of your other colleagues and put it into one mini contingency plan one rather than a big whack for all the suppliers. So that's exactly the kind of thing I should have said. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm into the detail of what you wanted, because we didn't work to you on. So I think you also want to get commitment of a day and a half from this individual,
Yeah.
and the same director as the person who you actually give the detail of all the shit you want.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, I think you would have agreed to a day and a half probably a bit sooner, but then when you went into you had to explain it, and I was thinking, that sounds a lot.
Yeah.
And it sounded
Yeah,
more than
yeah.
a day and a half almost. I just wonder when, in the real life example, with that senior person, whether you need to go into the detail.
Yeah, although do you need to go into, I feel like maybe it's just I'm too honest. You know, if you're clear on at least, then they're not like ethic, you know, because ethic was a real sticking point for countries like Australia where that like it's really perfect. So then that's how I did it. But you're right, because it only served to get and it's so funny how you get the cues. Cause as soon as she's all on board, and as soon as I said one word about standards, she's just like, it was like, oh, I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm falling apart.
You're definitely
It's not-
making progress. I think at some point you were taking 2 steps forward and then took a step back.
Yeah.
And it's a bit about, I guess, it's knowing what's it going to be for them,
Take ground.
still going focusing on those benefits, and then once you've solved them that, actually the rest should be
Yeah.
relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
There was a small thing I noticed, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think about it, is that when you were coming onto the ethics bit,
Yeah.
you led the ethics bit with, and I know this is going to be a sticking point for you, whereas I think maybe you could have just omitted that bit, delivered the ethics bit, even if it was going to be a sticking point, let it be a sticking
Yeah.
point, and then say, you know, and then address it like, I can appreciate, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But by saying it was a sticking point before you landed it, it
Yeah.
almost
Makes it a sticking
makes
point.
it an easy jump point for her to have an issue with it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I think I wouldn't have planned to say that,
Yeah,
but you know, you're in
In the
conversation,
flow.
you find yourself doing it, so that's a good one to
I
watch.
think you were preempting the challenges.
Yeah, don't preempt the challenge. Yeah.
It's a tough one to balance, because anticipating someone's concerns and the issues they're facing, I think, is really good, because it shows empathy with their position.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you know that is out of 3 going to be the one that's going to be the most difficult to get them to get over,
Yeah.
setting it up like that sometimes can make your job a bit more difficult,
Yeah.
which is where you started to maybe in your head take a couple of steps back.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Challenge.
I just want to say, in terms of your body language at the beginning, really good matching body language. You actually moved right at the beginning to match Craig's. I don't know if you noticed that. But during the whole conversation, you've got fabulous pace and dynamics, moving the whole time. So actually, not boring, not monotonous. You use pauses to great effect as well. At one point, you said, and fantastically, pause. And it was something about the paperwork. It's like, oh gosh, really? But it was that pause was actually really impactful. So then that comes very naturally to you and articulate as well, even though you might not have felt that.
I do this all the time because I'm conscious that I did this and I have to quickly change. I sometimes find myself, and I think if people are objectively watching, they might think, oh, she's being too
No, it was
relaxed.
nice actually,
Okay.
because you just, it just a change of pace
Okay.
again.
That's good because I'm conscious that some people are like, oh, you look too relaxed when you're doing this. So okay.
And Craig, how did it feel from your point of view?
I just thought the liking rapport was wonderful. You know, I felt very comfortable with you. It didn't actually feel, what was nice is that it didn't feel like you were coming to ask me to do something, which is a nice tactic, I think. I felt that you were offering an awful lot of support, which I thought was good. And there was and within that, showing a lot of commitment. And you know, I'll be here on the ground. I can make sure that's all right. I thought that was really reassuring. I didn't think that you were stumbling at all, actually, but if you did, what I would say to you is just you know, you were using pauses beautifully, but just give yourself a little bit more time to. If I'm throwing a lot of curveballs at you,
Yeah.
a lot,
Yeah.
and don't worry about just giving it a second, giving it a beat.
Yeah. I think
And
that's-
then, you know, don't worry too much. And you weren't really doing that, but if you feel like you're rushing,
Yeah.
then just take a little bit of time, no one minds. And as Joe said, you set the pace so beautifully
Yeah.
that you could even give yourself a few more pauses, a bit more time to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, and there were times when you were talking me out of agreement, as we've been
Yeah.
acknowledged.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that,
Yeah.
and just try and be aware of when
When to shut
when
up.
I've agreed.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, walk into a trap door. But
Yeah.
because I just thought it was lovely. I thought you had such a lovely style,
I
lovely tone of voice, lovely vocal variety. I felt really engaged. I wanted to listen to you. I didn't feel like you were trying to get me to sign a load of boring old paperwork. And I think that's probably the trick. Because obviously, you know, it's not really of any great benefit to them, is it? So I think that you,
whatsoever. I probably can't open up the markets at all.
yeah, I think you just maybe just lay back, be, if anything, a little bit more laid back about it.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
I know it's a bit of a hassle, but
Yeah.
And you definitely get a bingo bonus point for saying, I'll put one of my team in touch with one of your team. Oh, excellent.
My
yes.
team, my extensive team.
My people just
Yeah, my talk to your people. Because I just want a team.